Tycho, welcome. Hey,
Hey,
Tycho.
what's up? What's up, Albert?
Thank you for joining us. Really happy to have you here. This is we couldn't have done this without you. And you know, thank you for your support to the Bitcoin innovation community in general. You've also been a staunch supporter in the Startup Lab. And as you know, many of the people you coached have gone on to raise funds, and now they're in accelerator and building Bitcoin DeFi projects, right? Some on Stack, some of them on L1, etc. So really happy to have you here. Can you please introduce yourself briefly for the audience? What's your background and the project that you're doing?
Absolutely. That's no, it's all my pleasure. So it's great that there's so many people here as well that are looking forward to build some stuff on Bitcoin, right? It's great. It's great that there's so much enthusiasm now. So we really want to kind of get you kickstarted and stuff like that. But just one caveat, like I had a couple of times today that my internet dropped for a second. So if that happens, I've just announced it for now. But yeah, no, it's great to be here. And so just briefly about me. So I'm Tycho. I am general manager at Trust Machines, which is this kind of big company that's building Bitcoin applications and building infrastructure for Bitcoin applications, right? That Munib, the founder of Stacks, founded. So joined there. I guess it's sort of third person outside of the co-founders. And one of the things that I've really spent a lot of time working on is Bitcoin DeFi, and then specifically Zest protocol, which is a Bitcoin lending protocol. And there we helped kind of design a lot of the latest that's going to happen with the Stacks layer, right? With a lot of the upgrades that are coming there with SBTC later this year. But yeah, I thought maybe to kind of do a bit of a deep dive into what we're working on with Zest protocol and what kind of infrastructure we're using to make like a sort of Bitcoin first truly DeFi experience possible, and then can maybe share a bit of the what we did wrong or where we banged our head against the wall, so that you don't need to do that again. And I think
Yes,
that would
please.
be like a nice
Please.
thing to go through. And I'm not sure, like Albert, would we have any time for Q&A, or is it just me talking?
I mean, we might. I mean, let's see how it goes. My team will feed me some questions. If maybe we could field some questions as you reveal more about what you're doing.
Yeah. No,
let's
get sharing. Let's get sharing.
Yeah,
Can I share my screen? Would that be possible?
Yeah, of course.
I think it's disabled or not yet. I think it's still disabled
there
for
you
a
go.
sec.
Okay.
Let me see if I can. Yeah, there we go. I've got a lot more permissions now. That's what we were looking for. But yeah, and then by the way, also with all of this, like look forward to connecting more individually also during hackathon and helping you guys out more. But yeah, let's just kind of dive in. Like what have we been building and what can you guys learn from it, right? So yeah, as I mentioned, right, Zest protocol, the first on-chain Bitcoin lending protocol. Now, why is this necessary, or why is this helpful? Maybe actually let me just start the slideshow. A bit nicer. Let's just start from first principles, right? Why would we even want Bitcoin DeFi? Well, Bitcoin needs an economy to succeed, right? As an asset, economies require credit to grow, and capital markets allow for credit to flow. Right? And without the ability to borrow against assets or put idle capital to work, right, we would still kind of live in the Stone Age. Now, opaque Bitcoin capital markets have failed the Bitcoin economy, right? So there are all these opaque financial institutions that came to dominate Bitcoin capital markets. And it's not so great. And if you kind of go back to first principles with all of this, right? The very first sentence of the Bitcoin white paper basically is this, right? Which clearly cites, where Satoshi clearly says, look, we built the system to not have to go through financial institutions. So it's clear that Satoshi would have designed Bitcoin capital markets, differently from, just DeFi institutions and so on. And it shows, right? Like this is what we've all gone through last year, and maybe also why many of you are here. So we're here to build the future. And yeah, the Bitcoin economy needs a transparent, Bitcoin capital market, and there's many facets to that. And Zest protocol in that light. Not sure if my slideshow is still going. Yeah, there we go. We're focusing on the lending side of things, right? And essentially bringing on-chain transparency. But there's so much more that can be done. But let's just zoom in, like how we sort of work on that lending side, and then what takeaways that we have from that. So, well, for some reason my slides are not always going to the next one when I wanted to. But yeah, essentially this is a quick summary of what we focus on, right? So it's basically allowing people to earn on-chain Bitcoin yield for the first time. In the future, we would be looking at doing Bitcoin collateralized loans as well. And then we built this in an institutional setup. Market is really big. Don't need to kind of explain that to anyone. The credit is huge. I think all of you kind of understand that. And now the tech is here. So we can leverage this unique technology of the Stacks programming layer, which kind of you can summarize into three things, of which one is here, or with two of which are here, and one is coming, right? So one, the Stacks layer is like the only kind of layer or blockchain, right, in existence where you can read Bitcoin state natively from the smart contracts. And we'll see in a second how we sort of leverage that and how that's actually super useful for building, Bitcoin first DeFi apps. And at the same time, right, Bitcoin and Stacks blocks are produced at the same time, which you can also leverage, and which you'll leverage. And then there will be later and come Q4, right, this year, there'll be this trustless two-way BTC peg, right, where you can basically move Bitcoin onto the Stacks layer and move it out of there in a fully trust minimized way. But you don't need that to build Zest protocol. And yeah, we'll show you how we then aim to switch to that sort of new SBTC enabled kind of setup. So yeah, let's look at a quick demo, right? Like, what does this app actually look like, right? That we built, because we sort of not really released it yet to the public. So how would someone earn BTC yield, or more generally, how would someone put Bitcoin onto the protocol? All right. So first, someone picks a pool. Right. This could also kind of be similar in other DeFi apps. So there's just different pools to choose from where you're going to deposit some BTC. And then you just send native Bitcoin to the app, right, from any Bitcoin wallet. Essentially, you put in this case, 2.5 BTC, and then you hit confirm, and we present you with an address. And in the future, this could even be done like with wallet pop-ups, right? As you maybe know from MetaMask, right? You just would hit confirm, and a wallet pop-up would come. But currently, no Bitcoin wallet exists that supports that. But we would do that from day one, and it will come soon. So basically, someone just sends native Bitcoin to the app, and then on the next step, it's essentially just signing a transaction on Stacks after that. I'm not sure if, there we go. So you just get this sort of screen which says, hey, 2.5 BTC was received, just sign for it, right? So I guess the sort of mental model we have with this is a bit like American credit cards, right? You sort of give someone your card, they come back and you sign for it, and that's it, right? So you basically here let the Stacks layer know, hey, this BTC that came from me. And then poof, success, right? Bitcoin is in the pool. Now, how have we done that under the hood, right? And how can you guys also build something like this if you'd be looking to build an app where you can just send Bitcoin to and do DeFi from? So how does this all work under the hood, and especially before SBTC would be here? Well, so essentially something along these lines happens, right? So we have a depositing user on the one hand and a withdrawing user on the other. And the depositing user sends Bitcoin kind of to a Zest contract, right? And then it turns it into a tokenized version of Bitcoin on the Stacks layer. Now here we've said SBTC, right? Which is like the new sort of trustlessly wrapped version of Bitcoin that will launch on the Stacks layer in Q4. But this could also be another Bitcoin derived asset such as XBTC, which already exists on Stacks. And this goes into the pool, and this is like you can fully program how this should work, right, and how it should go out again. But essentially, you can build it in such a way where the depositing user and the withdrawing user just touch BTC. Right? And you can do that today, leveraging Magic Protocol under the hood. And this is how we what we've done, and how we aim to launch this protocol in the coming months. Just as a bit of a rundown, like how this works.
That's super exciting. Can you back up one page, please, Tycho?
Yeah, for sure.
I think the audience might have a question about this. So it looks like you've developed a protocol and other people could build on it. Is that?
Yeah, no, I would say that would definitely be something that's possible in the future. I think what I'm rather saying is like this kind of mechanism, this can be used, for any other protocol, right? So any other protocol could put their own name in a way, right? And they could use a similar mechanism where Bitcoin goes in and Bitcoin goes out, in a fully programmable way, right? So you could, for example, if you want to do options contracts, right, or if you want to do something else, you could use this kind of skeleton or framework, right, to hold Bitcoin in a contract and then move it out of there programmatically.
Super. Thanks for sharing that. And before we get into those other startup ideas, so we now know what you're doing. This is super exciting. Zest protocol on Bitcoin. It's going to be leveraging stacks. This is super exciting. Now let's zoom out for a second. How do you see, like, how would you paint the picture of the sustainable Bitcoin economy? Like, how does that look like in the future to you?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. What does a sustainable Bitcoin economy look like? Well, I think for one, we need one, right? We need an economy where people are transacting in Bitcoin, because otherwise, why would people hold this asset, right? So that's something that needs to kind of come, right? Otherwise, there won't be any transactions. If there are no transactions, the miners don't get paid anymore when the Bitcoin rewards run out. So we need to create transactions in some way, and we currently see that there are some use cases for this out there, right? Like people like to collateralize their Bitcoin to borrow stable coins, right? This is something that happens a lot in CeFi. You also see that people lend out their Bitcoin to credit-worthy companies, right, such as market makers. This also happens a lot in CeFi. And yeah, that's sort of like what's possible today. But because CeFi works in such a clunky way, essentially we're kind of failing the Bitcoin economy right now, right? Because there are many people like me who are like, well, I have some Bitcoin. I would maybe like to collateralize that. But I'm like, look, am I going to give my Bitcoin to a company? I mean, we've seen last year that how that worked out, right? So I would be me being quite close, and the people who work there are great, right? But the way it's set up, makes me quite nervous. And I would just like to see what's going on. So
absolutely, people are really nervous about the centralized custodial systems in play, right? And can we double click on what you mean, maybe in layman terms? You have some Bitcoin and you hope to collateralize that. What do you mean by that? Like, how does that play out in the real world? Like, what kind of service or product are you hoping for when you say that?
Yeah, I think if you even cycle back from any sort of terms about collateral and so on, right? Like, I think often we come into situations where we have some BTC, right? And we might need to sell some of it, right? Because we need to pay for something. And then the urge comes, okay, let me just sell a bit of Bitcoin, and then then we can buy this stuff. But then you no longer have your Bitcoin, and then if it goes up, then you're sad. So what the emerging kind of use case there is like, look, you could put some Bitcoin up as collateral and then borrow against it. Now also there are people in this world that are very sophisticated, and you could essentially sort of give your Bitcoin to them for some period of time to trade with it, right? and earn more BTC in that way. So basically use the Bitcoin, productively. Now, collateralizing BTC to borrow against it or lending it out to trading firms, right? It all depends on like who the holder of the BTC and what their, what excites them in many ways. But those are like, I guess, the main two things that people are looking to do with their BTC that that are actually productive.
Right, absolutely. And so in addition to that, what other applications, what other products have to be built to realize a sustainable Bitcoin economy? Now, let me put that in context, because that there's a lot of things. I mean, it's almost like it's a blue ocean right now, right? There's a lot of different things we could build on Bitcoin. Now, let's put it in a context of time. So, and genre, meaning that within the next year, before the next Bitcoin halving, right? So what can we build now before the next Bitcoin halving? And in the DeFi world, what do you think are the first things that if you had more time that you wish you could also build? Let's inspire the audience to build some awesome stuff so we could grow this ecosystem together.
That's a good point. And yeah, would really want to help think along there, because I think a lot of these, essentially you can build so many things that are currently happening in centralized companies, right? Like centralized like Bitcoin finance companies or DeFi companies, right? They offer those services, but it's quite hard to actually figure out what those are, right? But yeah, other things I'm really excited about, right? So next to collateralizing BTC to borrow against it, and next to lending out BTC for yield, I think one thing I'm also quite interested in is covered calls. Right? It's essentially a way to passively earn income with Bitcoin by selling an option on it. Right? So I could basically sell, like, say I have some BTC, and I could say, okay, well, if BTC, I would be happy to sell it in 2 months for 60K, right? And then someone buys that option to buy my BTC at 60K in the course of the next 2 months. And then, if Bitcoin doesn't hit 60K, then, I essentially get some money for that. And that's something that miners do a lot, for example, currently with a lot of finance companies. And they would love to do that on chain, right? But there's just not really a way to do that yet. I think that's a really interesting space to look into. Yeah, I would say that's like the main thing I've been spending sort of.
Oh, I think, yeah, thanks for the fair warning, because I think you're dropping right now. Hold on, let's give Tycho a second. Hopefully the internet comes back. Okay, hold on. Uh-oh. Tycho, you're back. Right, that wasn't too bad. That was only like 30, that was only 30 seconds. So you were talking about covered calls, and you're talking about this is one of the things that you're looking into now. And this is if you have more time, this is something you built. Can you sort of double click into why this is so important for the ecosystem? Covered calls.
Yeah, I think covered calls are probably one of the most riskless ways of earning a yield with any assets, right? You just hold it and you set an option on it, and it basically allows people to generate a bit of a passive income, right, with Bitcoin. And for some companies, that is actually an existential thing, right? Like, say if you're a miner, you've got a bunch of BTC, you need to keep paying the machines, right? It's either you sell Bitcoin or you maybe sell an option or you can make some passive income, right? If that becomes possible in a much more scalable way, then everyone wins. Right? So I think that's like a pretty interesting one, and a pretty clear one. Yeah, just like anything yield generating. But I think the key first things of yield generation are probably covered calls, lending, right? And then yeah, then there'll be more things to look at for sure. But yeah, those are like some of the things I'm just most excited about at the moment.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm excited about those ideas as well. We wrote an article, and you hit on some of the ideas that we believe are potentially Bitcoin unicorn startup level ideas. So these are definitely things that should be built before the next Bitcoin halving. Now, can you give some encouraging words to the audience and to the there potentially there's going to be potential contestants, right? We already have, I think on our list, we have almost 300 now. Like on dev posts, we're already well over 200 signups. Yeah, thank you for helping promote that before. But now with this video, we're going to keep promoting it, and there's going to be more people piling on. So for those people, for and they're going to start building on April 11th. So people can sign up until April 11th. And give some words of encouragement. How can they get started building these things?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think yeah, if there's any time to get started, it's probably now, right? It's a really interesting time to start building on Bitcoin. There's a lot of new developments, a lot of new tooling, right? Not just with the stack layer, but also on Lightning and so on. I think that other people will probably speak about. But yeah, there's a lot of interest from investors and so on, right? People are really waking up to the idea of building on Bitcoin, and that this is something that is exciting. So this is really a good time to start. Yeah, what I mainly wanted to share is that there are all these upgrades coming on the stacks layer, right, which will make it quite an exciting place to build Bitcoin apps. What I wanted to share primarily is that you can actually already get started with that stuff today, right? Which is sort of what the sort of couple of slides I still wanted to show, or can sort of maybe only show the final slide if that makes more sense, Albert. But,
yeah, go for it. Show it.
There's essentially this big upgrade coming, right, which will make it possible to move Bitcoin programmatically. But before then, you can use something that will work in a very similar way under the hood, and that's called Magic Protocol. I can just briefly show you how that would work if I can actually find back my slides. Let me have a quick look as to where they went. Okay, there they are. And then we go to Zoom, and then we go to share those. Maybe actually whoops. Okay, that is not the right screen. Maybe I should quickly stop sharing from here, or get rid of this thing first and then share. That is very strange. Oh, there we go. Fantastic. Good. And then we present again, and then we're good. Yeah. So what I think you want to share quickly is that to move Bitcoin into pool trustlessly, you can use something really cool on the stacks layer already today, right, which is this thing called Magic Protocol. So how this would work, and I'll just really quickly run through it, is essentially a liquidity provider would lock up some Bitcoin into a HTLC that they fully control. Then Magic Protocol programmatically locks up like a wrap Bitcoin on stacks, right? Bitcoin derived assets into a contract on stacks with like a stacks transaction, like a blue one instead of a orange Bitcoin transaction there. And then in like the third block, all of this stuff can happen all at once, where you basically do an atomic swap. Right? So so Magic Protocol gets the Bitcoin from the HTLC. Automatically, the wrapped version of the Bitcoin is released to a Zest liquidity pool, and then receipts of all of this stuff is minted for the liquidity provider. And you can do this fully safely for the first time, these kind of atomic swaps, because Bitcoin and stacks blocks are produced at the same time, right? So this can all happen, boom, in one block, and it can also work out the other way, right? So if you'd want to move from a Zest liquidity pool, you'd want to move Bitcoin to a borrower, for example, then they just need to share their Bitcoin address on the stacks layer. Then automatically you can escrow a Bitcoin derived asset, and then boom, in one single block, this can be unlocked through Magic Protocol, and then Magic Protocol sends the BTC to the borrower. So yeah, just to kind of sum this all up, right? say Magic Protocol is the most elegant way for any application to create a Bitcoin first DeFi interface. Right? Users can just send Bitcoin to an app from any Bitcoin wallet, hold a tokenized version of BTC in a fully expressive liquidity pool. Right? So you can really use fully expressive smart contracts on the stack layer to just program that Bitcoin around. And it's really optimal preparation for the SBTC launch on the DAX Bitcoin L2, because essentially the way that this SBTC derived, like SBTC asset will work is very, very similar to how Magic Protocol will work. So it will be very minimal changes. Like when we change our infrastructure over to the new version of the stacks layer, it would just take us like 2 weeks. We've budgeted for that. So you can really hit the ground running already now, and then just upgrade to the latest version when it's there. And yeah, other teams like us, we've already built using Magic. Right? We also try to explore DLCs, for example, and at the start, but just because they're not fully expressive, makes it really hard to, once an unknown borrower comes in to distribute the assets to them, and then you might need a centralized counterparty there, and it's just quite difficult to do. So yeah, what I would really encourage there is, and also a bit of a plug, is that you can learn from us, right? Emil, who is DEX Protocol co-founder and CTO, he will be speaking next to kind of really go in depth of like how you can actually build this stuff, right? So we'll just do some code sharing, some live demoing, and you can also always reach out to us as well to chat about using this.
So let me get this
that's
straight.
Like an open offer.
Awesome. So let me get this straight. Emil, your technical co-founder of Zest, is going to showcase how to use Magic Protocol, and one of the things they could build is potentially covered calls or other ideas, right? And that's how people exactly. Yeah, this is brilliant. So if you're in the audience, here are a couple more awesome potential tools and also unicorn company ideas that you can start building as early as next week. And Emil, Tycho's technical co-founder, is going to do a screen share crash course, so you can also get started on that. And by the way, both Emil and Tycho have both generously offered their time to, if you're a winner of any of these wish list items that Tycho mentioned, they will give you one-on-one mentoring time. So that I feel is priceless, because again, Tycho has helped coach many founders to go on to get fundraising and to get into accelerators. So definitely jump on this opportunity. Another awesome opportunity. Thank you so much,
no,
Tycho.
Really looking forward to meeting you guys. And yeah, so essentially what's coming next week, so stay tuned for that, is like a full demo of how this technically works under the hood, also using a new tool from Hero, right? The dev tooling on the Stacks ecosystem called chain hooks, where you can basically move from one screen to the next based on Bitcoin transactions and Stacks transactions. So yeah, really exciting stuff coming there. So yeah, definitely make sure to tune in and learn from the master himself, Emil, to get building.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us, Tycho. Looking forward to seeing more at the Bitcoin Olympics.
Great stuff. Thanks for doing this. And yeah, to everyone, like, let's go. We'll see each other very soon.
Let's build a sustainable Bitcoin economy together.
That's awesome. That's right. Good stuff. Yeah, if anyone wants to reach out, I'm on Twitter, just Tycho Anash, like the name. I think maybe you see this on Zoom right here, but otherwise just my first name, last name, then you'll find it. And yeah, just DMs are open, so just drop a line there, and let's get going.
We'll leave your contact information there, and also the Discord channel or server that you're part of. You probably noticed that there's a lot of activity recently, so the contestants are also going to be in our Discord, so that'll be a place to shout out. Excellent. Thank you, Tycho. Thank you, Emil. We have to jump. We're on time. We made it 9:30 on the money. So thank you so much.
Fantastic. Well, speaking of money, and yeah, and I see Zach is coming to talk more about Lens Swap. So he's a good friend. So enjoy the next chat there as well.
Thank you, Tycho, for coming.
All right. Hey, bye guys. Good luck.